Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be with you.
Now, in 1 minute, if you will, just tell us about yourself and why you're running for office.
I'm married 22 years. My wife and I have two daughters, 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, a senior in high school and a junior and a freshman in high school. Excuse me, I just promoted her. But we have not served long-term in politics. For the last 4 years, I've represented Central Oklahoma in the United States House of Representatives and really felt a calling to do that. 22 years before that, we did full-time ministry, working with middle school, high school, and college-age students, really working with families. How can we help families the most? So this is a real life interruption for us to step in the political world. We felt called to do that and have stepped in, and we're going to find a way to be able to serve and be able to help not only what's happening in Oklahoma, but a nation as a whole.
All right. Now, as the U.S. ramps up operations against militants in Iraq and in Syria, what role do you think that our armed services should be playing as they start combating ISIS and other foreign terrorist organizations?
Right. Obviously, we're not engaged in every operation in every part of the world, but we do have a single agenda, and that's the United States and Americans. We want to be able to protect our nation. As people move around, buy dinner, drive their cars, go to work, spend home in their weekend, they ask one simple thing: our nation should be kept secure. And so as threats come, and there's no question that ISIS plans to build an Islamic State to be able to launch terror attacks from there. They've been very blunt about that in the future, and they've been very aggressive and very blunt to say that America is the target. We should take that seriously. We've learned from 9/11 that we shouldn't just ignore someone that says, I hate you and I plan to bring the war to you. We should, as they prepare and as they gain the capability, be able to take the fight to them. What's happened initially with the airstrike slows them down. I do believe that this is predominantly a Middle Eastern fight, and they should stand up for themselves. But we should pay very clear attention and should not ignore the threats that are coming to us and make sure that we have a defense system to protect us.
All right, tell us, if you will, what specific plans do you have to address the federal budget deficits and the national debt?
Well, it's something I've worked on pretty extensively the last 4 years. I'm on the Budget Committee in the U.S. House of Representatives now. I asked to be on that committee because that is the ground zero spot in the House of Representatives to be able to get us back on track. So we have multiple things we have to deal with. We have to deal with long-term entitlements. You can't ignore that. 2/3 of the budget is the entitlement area. Everyone says we should leave it alone. There's a lot of fraud and waste in that area. We have to deal with that fraud and waste. We have to deal with the efficiency of our spending. But you're not going to get this all just by cutting and spending, though there's a lot that can be cut. You're going to also have to get through economic growth. If the federal government continues to put a hand on the economy and slow it down, then we're never going to catch up. 4 years ago, when I first came in the House of Representatives and joined the Budget Committee, the federal government was overspending $1.4 trillion that 1 year. Through the fights that we have had over the last 4 years, we've now worked that down to $500 billion. That's still $500 billion too much of overspending, but we've made a lot of progress. We have a ways to go, though, and we have to do it. We can't just ignore this and pretend the debt is going to solve itself. It won't.
Now, how would you ensure that Social Security and Medicare remain viable for future generations?
Now, this is another big issue that a lot of people want to just say, just pretend it's going to work itself out. It won't work itself out. I chair a subcommittee on oversight and government reform dealing with health care and some of the entitlements. I've had multiple hearings dealing with, for instance, one of the areas, Social Security disability. Social Security disability is scheduled to go insolvent a year and a half from now. It is the first of our entitlement programs to go insolvent. That doesn't mean it just quits entirely. That means that everyone on disability gets a cut in benefits because we have so many new people that are getting on the disability program and there's so much fraud in the system. So what I've aggressively gone after is how do we actually go after the fraud? So the disability program is set aside for the most vulnerable in our society, but the people that are defrauding the system get out of the system. We're not prosecuting people that are defrauding the system. If someone signs up for a Social Security disability, lies on their application, goes through the entire process, gets disability, if later they're found out they lied on it, there's no consequence for them. So people know that and they just sign up for it, and if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. It's become a very big issue for us. When you're dealing with old age Social Security, when you're dealing with the Medicare, there are some pretty basic process that can go through there. Dealing with age, dealing with how we actually do the financing. There's some areas of common ground, but currently there's this big political battle between Republicans and Democrats where we're not focused on the common ground solutions. They're there. We just need to actually implement them.
Congressman, we have about 30 seconds left, very brief amount of time, but in light of the recent VA scandal, what reforms would you suggest be put in place to ensure that our veterans get quality health care?
Yeah, first things first, a veteran should be able to go to any hospital they choose to go to, any physician they choose to go to. If that physician takes Medicare or Medicaid, they should also be able to take veterans benefits. That has been withheld from our veterans for a very long time. It's a foolish way to do the system.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.